What I'll be talking about today is 5G. And my slides are pretty barren as far as text because I kind of want to modify what I'm telling you based off who's listening. So can I get a quick raise of hands who is an undergrad student, freshman or sophomore? Okay, cool, that's quite a few. What about upperclassmen? Undergrad? Okay, any grad students? 0. Anyone that's like a professional in any industry? Ooh, all right, well, the underclassmen and the professionals have it. The upperclassmen, you'll like me too. Okay, so 5G is something that has a lot of buzz right now. And to be frank, even within Verizon, who is the first company to have launched a consumer 5G product, there's still confusion on what it actually is or what 5G means. So real quick, 5G is the next generation of cellular technology. So right now, if you look on your phone next to whatever provider you have, hopefully it's Verizon, it'll say either LTE or 4G or 3G. And the G just stands for generation. It's different iterations of that same service. So 5G is what's coming next. And like I said, Verizon was the first company to launch a product that's 5G that they're selling to consumers right now. Currently, it's only in California because it's kind of like the test site. But it's happening and it's here. And there's 2 different ways to think about it. One is your cell phone service, as you have it now, your data plan that is on your mobile device. The other way to think about it, which is one of the new capabilities of 5G, is that it can totally replace your home internet service. So that's what Verizon launched in August. That's something to keep in mind as we move forward. I'll be talking about 5G in general, but there are those 2 kind of branches or offshoots where one is your mobile service with your cell phone and the other is your home internet service. The biggest thing that people are excited about with 5G is the speed. The speed is more comparable to what you have as your internet in your house right now rather than your cell phone. So like example, when you download something on Netflix to watch it later, you have to connect to Wi-Fi. 5G, when it's on your phone, will replace it and the speeds will match closer to your internet at home now. So that's about 100 times faster than the cell speed you have currently. I'm going to play a video real quick, and it gets a little bit into engineering jargon, so don't let that lose your interest. But explaining how 5G works.
We believe 5G is an exponential improvement to what we have today. This year is the year that we're going to offer a commercial product to our customers.
In millimeter wave, we have a massive amount of bandwidth. We're seeing testing speeds of over a gigabit per second, as well as an extremely low latency.
It's really high frequency, so everybody thinks it doesn't go very far, but it's a really big pipe, and so that's what allows you to gain the super fast speeds. We're here on top of this parking garage. We're 3,000 feet away from our radio node. The cool thing about this is we did not move the radio node. It's pointing down to serve the customers in that area. But here, even 3,000 feet away, we're still getting gig speeds. So we're driven about a third mile away from the radio node. It's located over there behind the trees. We're still getting very good speeds, even though we have foliage in between. Our radio node is tucked in behind those apartments over there. The signal is actually bouncing off of the buildings. Even at this distance, with non-line of sight, we're still getting almost a gig. We're here doing our in-building tests. This right here is our CPU equipment going through the wall over here, also through the window, and our radio is way out there at the tower. And we're still getting really good speeds and signal.
Essentially, what beamforming does is compensate for any signal loss by switching automatically to the strongest beam. The selection of the beam is done instantaneously, so you get really solid coverage using millimeter wave spectrum.
we've learned over the past year is that the millimeter wave signal is much more resilient than anyone's expected.
This is going out to customers, and it's got the Verizon name behind it, so it has to be reliable and robust. Right now, we're only using half of our spectrum. I'm excited to get this build out completed and unleash the full potential of 5G.
Alrighty, so going off of a little bit of what they said, 4G right now has a way higher reach. I'm getting feedback, so if that happens, don't let it spook you. It fits for Halloween, it'll scare you. But 4G right now, the signals, so the big towers that you drive by on the interstate or the signals that they put on top of buildings, reach way further than the signals from 5G cells. So if you look at this chart, and I'm going to use my mouse to kind of help me describe this. The circles are way bigger on this side. The area that the signal reaches far surpasses the area that a 5G signal can reach. However, there's only 2 people in each circle here, you see? The bandwidth is way lower, so it can serve fewer people. It's good for, as far as cell service, more rural areas, by and large, because you need fewer cells. The infrastructure needs are lower, so therefore it's less expensive. However, the fact that it can only support a small amount of users also means that if all of those users are watching Netflix at the same time and they want to watch something in 4K or HD, their speed is going to slow way down. So 5G, the area that each signal reaches, is much smaller. It's more expensive because you need more of those cells talking to each other. However, the smaller the area that it can reach, the more information the signal can pass back and forth. So that not only means it can serve more people and more individual devices, but also all of those people that it's serving can download an HD movie, and the speed for all of them to do that would be very, very, very short. It would happen very quickly for all of them. So the reason that Verizon launched 5G in California in August was because they're focusing on those higher density, more urban areas to start. And then over the next couple of years, you'll see kind of a hybrid between 4G and 5G. And eventually, 5G will take over the way that 4G took over from 3G. 3G is getting retired within the next 2 years. So the other thing to kind of keep in mind, remember how it talks about there's 2 branches of 5G, the cell service and the home internet service? All of what I just said only refers to cell service. If I'm someone that lives in the middle of a swamp in Florida and I'm the only house for miles, I can get 1 cell from 5G and it will serve my home internet for my home and my home only, and there's no need to wait for a Verizon or a Charter, any type of telecom company to lay actual fiber or wiring into my house. It eliminates that need totally. So like I said, over the next couple of years, there's going to be some cooperation between both 4G and 5G, but eventually 5G is going to take over. One last kind of in the nitty-gritty slide, and then I'll get into the fun, exciting stuff. In that video, you heard the bald man talk about spectrum, and that is just the lingo for radio waves, airwaves that companies are sending out signals over, whether that's for internet or cell service. So here's a quick look at who owns what. Low band is that lower frequency. It's what a lot of cell providers are using currently. That's what 4G runs on. You can see AT&T owns most of that. Mid-band will be a little bit faster but have a little bit shorter range. Sprint owns most of that. Millimeter wave, like they talked about in the video, is what 5G runs on, and it's the highest frequency. Right now, 2/3 of that is owned by nobody. Technically, it's owned by the government, but they auction it off every couple of months. So you can tell that 5G is totally new and that companies are working on it because so little of the millimeter wave is owned by any telecom company. But that's where Verizon leads currently. So keep that in mind, that there is, yeah, the airwaves should be free, whatever, public radio, all that stuff. The government will keep some, but 5G is early enough on in its life cycle that much of the wavelengths that it operates on is totally unowned by anyone. So we're just kind of getting into the foray of what 5G means for consumers. By the numbers, just to kind of put it in perspective, 5G compared to 4G has 1/10 of the lag time or latency, the amount of time that your phone or computer takes to react to you switching a page in your browser or clicking a link on your Facebook or downloading a video. Buffering also fits within that latency umbrella. Has 100 times more capacity, so in the amount of time it would take you to download one high resolution image on 4G, you can download 100 in the same amount of time on 5G, and the network is running at 100 times more efficient. So it's putting in less work and doing vastly more than 5G. So part of the thing, the doors that opens is virtually instant download speeds and totally lag-free live streaming. Truly live streaming, real time. We've used real time a lot, but it truly is real time. And here's how you can see that. So the amount, I guess the left side is milliseconds. It's hundreds of seconds. The amount of time that it takes you to register sounds, the amount of time it's taking your brain to hear and figure out what I'm saying to you right now, is at about 170 milliseconds. The amount of time that it takes you to blink your eyes, so the amount of time from your eyelid to close and open again, is at 300 milliseconds. The amount of time that it takes you to register sight and react to something visually is 13-ish, 15. And a lightning strike takes 0.3 milliseconds. So whoever is an extrovert and wants to shout out at me, where do you think 5G lands on this scale? It's on one of these. It's near one of these, I guess I should say. Which do you think it's closest to? The amount of time it would take to download something. The ear? It's actually by lightning. It takes 2 milliseconds to download something. What is lightning? Not lightning fast. It's the one it's closest to, though. So the jump from lightning, which takes 0.3 milliseconds, to 5G is not very hard. 5G takes 2 milliseconds. Seeing something, the sight one is 13, so it's closer to lightning than it is how you can see that I'm like waving my hand right now, and your brain knows what that means. So it's extremely fast. And because of that, the industry excitement around it is that nothing will be mobile anymore. This won't be the MobileMe&You conference anymore. Once 5G is adopted, it'll just be the conference because everything will be mobile. You can take everything that needs to be tethered or connected to an actual like wireline connection. You'll be able to take that with you. So part of this, I'll go through a couple of these more in depth. Augmented reality right now, so that's your filters on Snapchat, that's Pokemon Go is augmented and mixed reality. That you can expect to pop way up because you're going to be able to marry really, really, truly big data, which I'll get to in a second, with augmented reality. So if I'm walking down the street and I need to know where the nearest coffee shop is in New York City, you can kind of see it in that picture, but it'll pop up an arrow and my path will show up on the sidewalk, so I don't have to like follow my dot and figure out what direction I'm facing. It'll augment the world through my phone to show me exactly what I'm passing by, and that's something that you can expect to be integrated into smart cars as well. Untethered virtual reality, right now you need either to be connected to an actual wireline internet connection, or you need to plug your device in to make sure the battery doesn't run out, because battery life is not great for augmented or virtual reality headsets. But you can expect that to go away. Battery life is already getting better. There are already engineering and tech companies that are working on that piece, but also with the 5G network, you can totally like walk around and not be connected hardwired to anything during virtual reality. AI and edge computing. Edge computing is worth its own talk, so I won't get into it too much, but the easiest way to think about it is right now, if you send something to the cloud, I'm sending it from my phone up to the cloud, and then if I want to download it later, it has to come back down. With 5G and the bandwidth of the network, each smart device, whether that be a car, a fridge, your phone, your laptop, tablet, each device has its own mini cloud and they talk to each other. So it's on the edge of the cloud. And with the analogy, it has a smaller distance to travel if it's on the edge of the cloud. So all these smart devices talk to each other, which allows for super, super quick interaction between them, which I'll show you a video in a second that it exemplifies how that works. But with that and with AI, you can expect some pretty sci-fi worthy things. Video and gaming will turn truly mobile, so instead of having to download 12 episodes of The Office before you go on a long flight, and it takes an hour, you'll be able to do it in the matter of a couple seconds. Gaming, you can expect more mobility, even surpassing the mobility that like the Nintendo Switch gives you. Volumetric video is, we have 360 video now, where if you're standing in one single spot where the camera is, I can make a circle and see everything around me. What we are working on currently, and it already exists in some ways, is if something is stationary, I can walk around it and see a 360-degree view of it instead. And then mixed reality, which I'll get to in a second. That one's exciting. It's the scariest one to me. So I'm going to show you real quick. In this video, I get that like the VR headsets are tethered. There's a wired connection. But this is what's possible with 5G. This is something we did last year.
We are here to demonstrate the capabilities of 5G technology. Verizon has been doing a lot of testing in the field. There are some unique capabilities that 5G brings, like really big bandwidth and very low latency. And we wanted to show what we can do with 5G in the sports world, that it's almost like real time. It's as if you're seeing with your real eyes.
It's so crazy to think that the signal is that fast, you're still able to move and interact with things around you. It's crystal clear, and there's no lagging or anything. Like you don't even have these on. There's a lot of things you can do with this. This is something that is simply the future of technology.
It is just the beginning of what we can do.
Okay, so as you can see, they had the VR headsets on. It's not like you're just looking through glasses and they're seeing with their real eyes, but that's how they're able to perform. That's how they're able to play. Because the signal and the bandwidth of 5G is so powerful and so fast. So with this comes a lot of opportunity, specifically in the journalism and ad PR realms. So picture this. You are in LA and you want to see LeBron play, because you should, even if you're not a fan of his. It's a moment in history to see him play. So you don't have money to spend $8 million on a ticket and watch him from the actual arena. But what people could start doing, teams could start doing, is once 5G allows for VR headsets to be more widely adopted, they could sell virtual tickets. And you could wear your VR headset and you could watch the game in real time, either from a specific seat in the arena, from courtside, from the view of the coach. Cameras that small don't exist yet, but potentially maybe one day from the view of the actual players and being able to switch between and see what they're seeing. And that's something you could charge for, and that's something that people could be at the game and get that experience without actually being at the game. With that comes a whole nother set of ad opportunities. So during commercial breaks, what virtual reality ads are going to be served to people? How are they going to be targeted based off data that's collected from what they're watching and what they're interacting with? It opens up, like I said, a wide range of possibilities that truly don't exist yet, but it's something to be excited about for sure. The other thing that people are excited about, VR is one of the most widely talked about capabilities for 5G, is education and the medicine field specifically. So being able to have a surgeon who's performing a surgery in California and I'm in New York, and I can see exactly what they're seeing. And with haptics, like gloves that are sensory and react to their environment as well, and be able to feel what they're feeling. So as the surgeon's hand is in her patient and is feeling an artery that is wrong, how she reacts to it, I, as a student, can feel that on the other side of the country and learn that way. The next thing that we'll talk about is mobile and cloud-based gaming. I know streaming games already exists in some ways, but I'll play this video and then talk a little bit about how 5G will change the game there, which is my second.
This weekend, we are in Chelsea doing a Verizon 5G game jam.
20 developers from New York City spend the whole weekend with us, making experiences for our 5G node.
When you're developing for mobile, you're used to really optimizing for bandwidth and rendering capabilities.
You really have to think about the capabilities of the machine that you're programming for.
It's not a very strong processor. It doesn't have a lot of memory. It doesn't have a lot of screen space. So you basically have to compress everything.
So now with 5G, developers and content creators are completely free to explore the possibilities.
5G is the next generation technology with higher speeds, higher bandwidth, low latency applications.
That means that we could offload our processing power to a much more powerful desktop machine, and that's true for the handheld rights.
By handling the processing and rendering you the feed for a gamer to see on their mobile phone.
It gives the challenge to basically make the most, heavy process intensive game we can imagine and play it through the 5G network on a mobile phone.
We're sort of like, well, geez, now we can kind of do anything.
There's electric, there's game developers, freed from their shackles.
We just decided to go crazy with like post-processing effects everywhere and lights everywhere.
Dynamic models, high quality textures.
Motion blur and ambient occlusion, and try to break it, basically. And I don't think any of us are going to succeed.
So our game is 2 nights on a rocket. It's a multiplayer experience. One person playing on a computer, one person playing on a mobile phone. They're both connected to the same server, offering input remotely.
Our game is called How to Marvel Lunacy. It's just a glorious simulation celebrating the freedom that we're getting with this new workflow.
If I play the game in the Unity editor, it just stutters the entire time. And on 5G, it runs like buttery smooth. It's just ridiculous.
Well, in our game, we're trying to maximize the power of 5G by getting the player to shoot so many bullets and have so many things on screen. You have characters, you have environments, and I was worrying the entire time, is this going to work? Oh man, did I make it too high powered? And then I finally got to sit down and play the game with the guys, and it was great.
A lot of the developers here were skeptical. We're talking about like, oh, how are they going to even do this? Using Wi-Fi better, blah, blah, blah. But once we actually put on the network, we saw, seeing, believing kind of thing. So I'm definitely not skeptic anymore.
What excites me about the future is not having to design an experience through a hardware interface that the user uses. It's just designing experiences for the user, wherever they are, with whatever screen they're looking at. That's a designer's dream, basically.
Especially after messing with it for 2 days, I think 5G is going to be cool. I'm excited to use it in the future.
We want these developers to push the limits because what our network can offer is going to change the future.
Ready. So talking about gaming and what you can kind of gather from that video. With 5G and the same network, especially being able to power your home internet connection and your mobile device, means that the network already exists for this. The tech needs to catch up. Say I'm playing a game on my Xbox and I have to go to class, but I know I'm going to have 20 minutes to kill once I get to campus. And the amount of time that it would take me to just grab my keys off the table, I can tell my console to communicate to my phone, and it will transfer where I'm at in the game and all of that information to my mobile device. So once I get to campus, I can pick up where I left off and play from there, which is pretty cool. What's even cooler than that, and I can't get into too much detail about. But there's a game currently being developed with 5G in mind. And the way that it works is that it can be played on console, it can be played on PC, it can be played on mobile. All of them individually. If you want, you can play the entire game on your phone. If you want, you can play it on your computer, console, whatever you want. However, it uses AI, and it's all cloud-based. It uses Intel AI to build the worlds as you're playing them. So if it's a first-person shooter game, let's say, and if I like to climb up into buildings and have the windows knocked out and like shoot people down below, then as I travel through the map and discover new parts of the map, the structures and where something is and all the roads and where I can walk will be the same as my friend that's playing online, but my structure may be different. So where my friend, who plays a lot of like groundwork, may see a tall structure in a building, mine, using AI, knows that I like to climb up in those buildings and get people that way. So I'm going to just see a warehouse, and that's going to make it more challenging for me, and it's going to force me to practice and get better and kind of expand my capabilities as a player. And again, that's something that's being created in real time. It's not going to have a break, and it's not going to have to load and buffer and decide from a selection of 5 maps and see which one matches your gameplay style most like you. It'll be individualized for each person, but still able to play live, still able to play multiplayer. And so that's something very cool. That's, like I said, in the works. Is something that's actually happening. And again, that opens up a ton of doors for brands. There's already clearly some games with like in-brand presences. But it'll allow people to get more segmented in their messaging, more personalized in the experience they're giving their users. And using that big data that they collect, you really get to an interesting level of psychology and how the human brain works as far as motivations and instincts in big data, as opposed to, hey, I know that Emily walks the same way to work every day and stops at the same coffee shop within 10 minutes of the same time every day. It gets very much into a higher level, which will help targeting as well. Oops. Okay. So the last thing, and like I said, this is the creepiest one, then I'll get time for questions, is volumetric video. So that's where you have one thing and you're able to walk around it and see it, the 360 degrees of it. So I'll show you the visual of what that looks like real quick. There you go. The video doesn't have any audio, so it doesn't matter. But you can see you're walking around, you're seeing this woman. What you don't see currently is that this company, 8i, is testing doing this with someone who is in the other room. So holograms, for example, exist. We also like the Michael Jackson one a couple years ago. However, it's something that was developed, and it was like a piece of creative. It was a file that was projected. What doesn't exist currently and what 8i is working on is real-time holograms. So in Star Wars, when they're like swooping the maps and the Jedi are hologrammed up, that's something that's really not beyond the realm of possibility anymore. That's something that truly could happen on a 5G network, and you could be able to walk around them and interact with them. Like something out of Black Mirror or Minority Report. So that's very exciting. Think about the ad capabilities there as well. If you're, to go with the sports thing, if you're watching the All-Star game on TV and you have a hologram of the stadium and you're able to swipe it around and look at it from any angle, zoomed in, zoomed out, get right behind your favorite player. And then during a commercial break, I have an ad come up for the new iPhone, and I'm able to see the actual dimensions and the size and look at it the way I want to look at it, zoom in to what parts I want to zoom in on. It opens the doors for people to interact with products in a virtual way, but in a way that feels very real. And like I said, it doesn't exist yet. That's the thing to kind of keep harping on. So the future of 5G, so to speak, like I said, is that really big data, because you're getting so granular for every single individual person, and you're getting to a level where you can see their reactions, motivations, why they're doing something, rather than the big data now where it's, yeah, we have a massive information, but it's not telling us why people are doing things. 5G can kind of help crack that nut a little bit. There's going to be a boom of interactivity. Everything is going to be kind of a two-way communication between a product, a piece of content, a brand, and the user. But it also is going to redefine real time. So as you saw at the All-Star game, VR, AR, any of that that's operating on the 5G network is really going to be instantaneous. It's less than the amount of time it takes to blink an eye. So again, it's all very exciting. The piece that I hope is drilled into your brains by now, because I keep repeating it, is that it's all new and we don't know. If you were to come up, so nobody asked this question in the next 5 minutes. If you were to come up and ask me how is 5G going to be used, I would tell you I don't know. And I work very closely with it at my job. For example, there was an entire team at Verizon who their job is to brainstorm. Their job is to imagine what's possible with 5G. Not to build it, not to do it, not to work with engineers to make it happen, solely to imagine what it could mean. And there's a pretty industry-wide exception or understanding that 5G is going to be the fourth industrial revolution. But how it's going to change our lives has not been thought of yet. So I asked you all to raise your hands and see kind of who is making up this audience. A lot of you are in your first 2 years of college. So for reference, 5G is suspected to reach critical mass, be widely adopted in the year 2022. So that's going to be around the time you graduate. If you're an upperclassman, you have had a couple of years of your job under your belt. And if you're in the industry, it doesn't matter which industry, it stands to reason it's something ad PR journalism related, but any industry, 5G will change the way you do things. But for those underclassmen, which I was glad to see a lot of hands go up there, you're the ones that are going to help decide what 5G means to us as a country, as a world, as a society, especially with what's all going on. The technology is there, the network is there. It's built, it exists. The devices will get there. That's why the year 2022 is kind of our earmark. That's when Apple's going to come out with their first 5G phone. After that, how you want to use 5G is up to you. And that's why a lot of what I showed you is just examples of look at what 5G can do, because that's truly all that exists right now. So it's a blank slate. It's a high-powered blank slate, but it's a blank slate that everyone in this room will have a hand in, and if you want to be, you can be in control of it. So I hope that gives you goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps. It's an exciting place to be. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Gee, I want it. From listening to you, does it sound sort of fair to say that 5G is video, or at least allows video personalization?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what I was getting. It's like personalization has been the key in text and
right.
delivery for so long, and now for the first time it touches video.
It does, absolutely. So dynamic creative is something that's existed for a while. It's still fairly new in when you look at the entire life of advertising, but it's something that exists and it's something you can do in social. And it started out, half being dynamic the minute you could start targeting ads to specific age groups or genders or whatever. And then it kind of went the next step further in where if I say I'm Target and I have a back to school campaign going on, I'll have an ad for K through 6 teachers, I'll have an ad for middle school teachers, I'll have an ad for high school teachers, an ad for college professors. And then I'll have an ad for students that are, 13 to 15, students that are 15 to 18, students in college. And so in real time, when the ad gets served, it'll match whatever segment I'm in. And that was the dynamic component of serving ads in that creative. Now what's starting to happen, and again, still images, is that it can pull in, it being the ad tech, can pull in different headings. It can pull in, hey, Emily, look at this cool Target thing, like give us your money. And it can actually change, again, air quotes, real time, to be more personalized to an individual rather than a group being served a version of an ad. However, yes, that doesn't exist with video today, but it could. The difference is that I've been air quoting real time because ad tech knows when it's going to serve an ad. It knows, hey, the next time Emily is on Facebook and she has a slot open in the algorithm for an ad, this is what's going to be there. What changes with video is it's a lot larger of a file, so it's harder to manipulate after it's final and finished, which 5G the network will allow for. But B, it should, in theory, be actually real time. So watching an ad, like I said, during a VR experience of a basketball game and having a VR ad pop up, the company will have bought that time slot, but there's not a way to know if I'm tuned into the game at that time. There's no way for them to know when I'm taking off the headset to go grab a snack. It's not something that they can anticipate the way that you can with the Facebook algorithm. So with 5G, it'll know, hey, Emily's on, quick, her device is registered, her VR device, plug in her name, we know who she is based off what she's watching and what she's consuming, serve her this truly personalized and also truly real-time ad. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Any others? Hello.
So I've been following quite a bit for like we got WebMatch, and but everything that I see is really positive. But with all of the effort that's going to go into installing all the microcells and everything, and the fact that none of them are compatible with any existing devices, I just feel like there's a really big gap between here that 2022 data gave that everyone else seems to. Am I missing something that everyone else knows about how we're going to get from here to there?
No, you're not. I think the biggest hang up is there's no regulation right now. So any 5G device that exists right now, A, it's first generation, not totally tested with the masses. B, there's no rule through the FCC or elsewhere that says a 5G phone is allowed to do this. This is the information you're allowed to collect on the network. There's none of that. So no, you're not missing anything, and you're also should be taking it a step further in that devices are being made. 5G is usable now. Next, I think it's either November of this year or February of next year, like mobile devices will be out, but even then you're gonna have to start over once the regulations come out, because we don't, and realistically, none of the 5G phones that exist now are gonna match the regulation. So it's even gonna have to restart. But the infrastructure, yeah, the infrastructure, that's a ton of work, but the industry is kind of focusing on it in those larger, more urban areas now. They're already laying like the groundwork there. And so when we talk about critical mass and critical adoption, part of what accelerates that, and I think part of why we're throwing out that 2022 date, and although there is a ton of infrastructure work and even just like engineering invention work to be done, those are all areas that have high populations. So the percentage of people in the United States that have access to 5G or have a 5G phone is going to spike because we're targeting all the big cities. Critical mass and reaching, a majority of the people in the United States area-wise, the majority of states or cities in the United States, that's going to be further along. But does that answer? Like, no, you're not thinking about it the wrong way. It is a little bit tricky. And there is total hype around it for sure, as far as timing. But
the answer I come to that they just disagree with is just it's still bulldozer progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Any others? Okay. Nebraska. Well, Apple's going to do. And they did this for 4G, they did this for 3G. They're going to be the last major cell phone manufacturer to create a 5G phone. And they do that because they don't want their product UX to get negative feedback because the network it's running on. So that I just checked this earlier this week, and they're still saying 2022 is the year. I think realistically that's going to get pushed back. They're not going to do it until they can sell a 5G enabled device to everyone in the country that would want one. I would guess probably 2025. I think off the top of my head, worldwide adoption is kind of more what I go off of for true United States adoption, if you will. And I think, what is it? 7 billion people in the world should have access to 5G by 2029. So I would say a couple years before that, 2025 would be my guess. But like I said, 4G isn't going away, and some of this can run on the 4G network, and that will continue to get better. And there's going to be that crossover period too. So it's not like all of a sudden 5G is your only option either. So that, yeah, okay. Hi.
So it sounds like it's going to be a really great thing, but do you think that since this is going to come with a lot of personalization, that there's going to be a rise in stigma that advertisers get too personal?
Yep, I do. Absolutely. Because like I said, there's a lot that doesn't exist, but there's a lot that's being talked about for 5G. One of the things that I just had brought up in one of my meetings a couple of weeks ago was, all right, so I have a VR headset and I'm watching whatever I want, but I mean, Mike Dodd in the UNL psychology department does eye tracking. And what's to say that someone who's producing a VR headset isn't going to put eye tracking software in there to see where you're looking even and what parts of the ad are you looking at, so they can run, secret focus groups on what ad I'm being served. I can see, oh, they were looking at it for this amount of time. They were looking at our logo versus the product here. It gets to a super scary granular level. So yeah, I think that is going to spike up privacy issues. And I think also the whole stigma around AI and robots taking over the world will also happen. Absolutely. All right. I know we're coming near 5. Any other? Ooh.
One thing that I want to yes, please.
So because there's so much personalization, that's such a big technology, before it's going to be put out officially for everyone, are there going to be steps taken to make sure that people can safely personalize this and hopefully it won't get in the hands of the wrong people?
Yep, that should be coming. The timeline is like a little bit TBD. But that's a little bit what I was speaking to about it's not regulated right now. Like, it's a free world as far as 5G is concerned right now, and that should be changing very soon. It will be regulated for sure, at least initially, and then I'm sure they'll add more regulations on top of that as more 5G-enabled devices come to light and come out. So yes, steps will be taken right now. None have been, but they will be.
And do you think that net neutrality will also affect us in some way?
I think net neutrality with 5G will be the way net neutrality was or is now, where could you do a lot of like self-serving things could Verizon over 5G? Totally. But if it comes out that, we're lagging anyone that's watching, I don't know, the new streaming service that Disney's putting out, because Disney is part of Comcast and Comcast is a competitor, then that's just going to have way more of a negative effect on us, PR-wise, than anything. So I don't foresee it being too huge of an issue, in addition to what already is kind of not great about net neutrality being gone now. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is great, Emily. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me.
And I have just a couple quick announcements, but first, let's thank Emily. Okay, so tomorrow we start breakfast at 8:30. We start in here at 9 o'clock again. If you have the program, you'll see we have some fantastic speakers coming tomorrow talking about bots, talking about CNN's mobile strategy, talking about drones, talking about an experimental lab at Northwestern. We have lots of cool stuff coming tomorrow. So tomorrow, we really hope to see you here and see you again. Bring your friends. It's still free food. And now we are going to walk to the Sheldon Art Museum, which is about a 2-block walk away, for the reception, where there's some really cool and creative food and a band. And our students here will lead the way. There's also a map out here. And we will, like I say, just make our way to the Sheldon Art Museum to eat a little, drink a little, and look at some good art. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for a great first day.